Okay, this is Lester Knudsen with Advanced Data Tools, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the Fastest Informix DBA Contest 2 conference call. Really appreciate everyone being able to get in this afternoon and join. I'm still waiting for a couple of folks who are going to help me with this, primarily because they won the contest, to log into the conference call system. And so we may take a few more minutes before we actually get to what they did. I have everybody on mute right now, and as we go through the call, I will unmute you when you have questions. You can also, in the chat, I think everybody has a chat dialog box open right now. You can ask questions as we go along if you have any questions that come up. First of all, I've got to say thank you to everybody who participated. This was overwhelming in terms of the number of people who registered, downloaded the contest software and participate. We had over 70 people take part in it, and in that sense, it was kind of overwhelming. I wasn't expecting that many people to participate, and it was kind of awesome to see what everybody did. As a bit of background for those who didn't participate, was I had basically a batch billing job that took about 40 hours to run as it was untuned, because I had some really bad SQL in there. I'll be honest, I purposely made it bad. And the challenge was to take that and get it to run very fast. And we had 8 people who did a phenomenal job that got it to run very, very, very fast. And that's what this call is all about, is those 8 people and how they did it and how they tuned their databases. I say here you have to complete the task in under 30 minutes. We had about 3 months for people to work on this from the time we started the contest, where you could download the software, work on tuning the on-config file, the layout, and tune the SQL script. And the first real challenge was to find the missing index. There was one index that was missing that if you didn't find it, I don't think you could get the script to run in less than about 40 hours, no matter how well you tuned everything else. There were 100,000 customers and about 600,000 bills, and if you didn't have that right index, it had to do a subquery where it did a sequential scan on 600,000 bills for each of the 100,000 customers. And so that was the first key, was identifying that index, and I'll point that out to you in just a few slides here. And then the rest of it was straight optimization. And this is where folks really did a great job. Now, we took the scripts that folks sent back to us, and we had one machine set up here. It's the same machine we used at the IIUG conference last year. It's an HP with 4 cores, 3 gigs of RAM, running Linux, and the latest version of Informix. And it was the C4, which is a 32-bit version of Informix. And folks sent us their on-config file, the SQL script, and a setup script, and we ran it on this machine. And based on how well they did, that's how we awarded them. Now, some people sent us back scripts that wouldn't run on the machine, and this is, I'll probably never do a contest like this again because it's very hard, I know, when I'm trying to debug software and I can't see the machine I'm going to run it on. And I'm sure it must have been very hard for those of you who, couldn't quite see the machine to see the problems. We had a couple of people that either allocated too much memory or changed something and had a memory crash, and so we could not get the scripts to run at all. But of those who did get it to run, and some of them had read the instructions very carefully, and it ran right out of the box on the new machine. In fact, the winners all had configurations that ran right out of the box. Now, if it was a minor change, like there are a few cases where in the onconfig file someone had the root DB space, the wrong path to it, I fixed that in the onconfig file. That's about the only change I made, because there are a couple of cases where that did happen. Everything else, we just pretty much took what you sent us and ran it. And I'm going to flip screens in just a minute. Well, first of all, the winners. And I made a huge mistake here, actually. When I first ran the contest, we got everything down. I ran through all the scripts. I missed 2 people, and I really apologize for doing it to the 2 people I missed. They had sent their scripts early, and because they sent it early, I did not look far enough back in my email box to see that they'd sent them early, so I missed them. One of them was Tatiana, who ended up with the fastest overall time. And I've got them listed in this slide in terms of who had the fastest overall time. Tatiana is from Russia. She had the fastest overall time, and she is a user DBA there, so she has the grand prize of having both the fastest overall time and the fastest user DBA. Warren Donovan had the second fastest, and his was only about 4 seconds, I'm sorry. Big difference there. Tatiana's time was 0.9596 of a second. I'll run hers in just a minute so you can see it. Warren's was about a minute, 0.1 seconds. And Warren is a consultant here, and he has the fastest consultant time. Eric, who's from Winchester, Virginia, was the fastest user DBA time until I reran Tatiana's. And I got to first say, Warren and Eric were very graceful because I announced this. I said Eric won the fastest user DBA time. Warren had the fastest time, and then, later on I said, whoops, I made a mistake. And they were both very gracious. I really appreciate that. And so we've decided to give Eric the fastest user DBA prize too, since he did win that originally. And then Matt from Germany is the fastest, Multi, I apologize for mispronouncing names here, is the fastest international participant. Frank also was a runner-up in the user DBA category. Jeff from Chicago was a runner-up in the consultant category. Tammy from Anchorage did a really good job in the user category. And Rhea from North Carolina was the youngest person who participated and did a great job. And these 8 all came in about 5 minutes, all of them doing very well. And then we sort of had a gap. We had 1 or 2, but the next group of people were about 13 minutes, which I thought was kind of interesting to see that gap. You had this group here that came in very fast, and then a gap, and then the next group was about 13, 14 minutes in terms of participating. So what I'd like to do next is take a look and see what they did. And I'm going to switch to a terminal, nice boring terminal screen and show you Tatiana's code and what she did. We'll actually run her contest then. And then I'm going to see if Eric is on. And if he's on, I'm going to unmute him and let him talk about what he did. And then Warren is on. I see Warren here. Eric, I don't see you on. If you're on, can you say something? I'm going to unmute all the lines for just a minute because I have a number of people identified just as caller 1, 2, 3. Eric, are you on the line? I don't hear Eric. I'm going to mute them all again. Okay, but we'll Eric, I thought, said he could be on now, and Warren definitely is on. I'll let both of them talk about what they did. Tammy's on, and a couple of others are on. Jeff is on, and we'll let you talk about what you did. But first, let's take a look at how Tatiana did this. And what I'm going to do now is share my desktop. And before I do that, let's make sure it's not too messy. Okay, so this is a terminal. I'm SSH'd into the Linux box, and I just reran the setup script that each person sends in. And just to show you what Tatiana did, she did one of the things that really struck me as soon as I saw Eric and Warren's response was they both did it slightly different, and they both were brilliant at how they approached this contest. And my immediate response was, I'd like to combine what they did into one. Tatiana sort of did that. If I do an onstat -d, she approached it very simple, just 4 DB spaces, configured for just what we need for this contest. And she did use a 4K page size on the data DB space, but nothing else there. And I think she'd done quite a bit of testing to get this down right. I'm going to do an on mode -c so we start off with a checkpoint run, and then I'm going to run the actual script here that she used. Everybody had that first error because the bills table didn't exist, so that's not a problem. And she took the 5 SQL statements I had in this benchmark and got them down to 2 SQL statements. 3 of them are inserts. She combined them into 1 insert, and then there was 1 update, and she combined those into 1 update. And it's really very creative, the approach she did. A couple of the updates she eliminated by making them case statements in the insert statement. And there it is. It's pretty much finished now. It's got to do 1 more checkpoint, and it ran in 56 seconds, 0.315 seconds. So let me show you her code. So the first thing that everybody had to do was create the bills table, and one of the requirements was you had to, the table had to be a real table. It had to end up not being a raw table. There are a few people that did it as a raw table and then didn't change it back. The key was you had to change it back. And at the end here, we'll look for that. Tatiana changed it back to a standard table. So she locks the table, does one insert, and in the insert has two case statements that take care of two of the updates that I had in the code. By having these case statements right here, you don't have to have separate updates. So this took care of 4 of the SQL statements by having it all done in one insert. And then she did a second update on the customer table and updates that, and away it goes. And she changes it back to a standard table, so it's a regular table, and does 2 selects to see the results, and that's how we know that the results are valid. Is I check the counts and the dollars on these 2 to make sure they're valid. Does this last thing everybody had to do was this on mode -C to do a checkpoint, and the script was over. So that's what she did here in terms of the SQL. Let's take a look at her on config. So probably everybody's asking, well, what did she do with buffers? Because that's the key thing. Created one buffer pool, 4K, with 300,000 records, 200 LRUs, and had LRU auto-tuning turned on with the LRUs really high. So basically all we got were LRU writes. I think that was one of the key things. It's interesting, everybody else who used a bigger page size picked 16K. She was the only one to do 4K. And I wish she was on the call, because I'd like to find out, did she try 16K? Did she try 12K? Did she try other options to see what happened? It's really interesting. Let's take a look at the couple of other things in the on-config file that you might be interested in. Created a huge physical log file, as you can notice, right there under phys file. Set the dynamic logs on, created 3 logs, but that gets taken care of in the setup. Created a temp DB space. That was one of the things in the on-config you may have noticed I did not have set, and you had to do it. Basically went with the default connections. Only used one CPU. We're on a 4-core machine. The problem with this machine, though, is it's I/O bound. This machine has 1 disk, and even though it has 4 CPUs, there's not much to gain by using all 4 CPUs. And so she only used 1 CPU VP. Has auto AIO VPs turned on, 30 cleaners, a big lock table, which is one of the other keys to this, and virtual memory. Didn't make it too big. I think this was one of the other keys, was not making things too big, just enough virtual memory to do what you needed to there. So that was pretty much the main things that she did to get it down, and I'm actually really impressed. One of the things I saw, several people I thought tried to do too much, and one of the things I've learned in performance tuning over the years is you're often better off getting away with as little as possible and not trying to do too much. So let me go back to the big picture and see if Warren or Eric are on here. And I don't see Eric. I'm going to unmute everybody for a minute and just see if Eric is on. Eric, are you on the line? Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm muted everybody except for Warren. And Warren, hang on, and I'm going to unmute you. Warren Donovan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Warren, congratulations. How are you?
Thanks, Lester.
So why don't you tell us what you did? And if you want, I can show people how it all worked, or you can sort of direct me here.
Okay. Well, I guess
I can even share the screen with you if you want to show people.
Do you have my code there? Because I can just read through it.
Yes.
If you want to bring up the setup, I can run through that.
Okay, give me just a minute. I'll change directories. Okay, I'm going back to sharing my desktop, and you'll see me. Okay, I'm in your directory, Warren. And if I BI your setup, if I would spell it right. Okay.
All right. So let's. I think I was a little bit less elegant and more brute force than most people. Would be my guess. I normally work with data warehouse stuff, and so I want to do a lot of data warehouse type things. Really, I don't think the export KIO on did too much. I think default is 100. That sort of gives it that's a Linux thing to give it supposedly a higher priority. Later on, you'll see I added DB spaces for everything.
I was going to say, what impressed me about what you did was you really had thought through the DB spaces, where things should go, and it looked like you had optimized everything so it had a special place.
Yeah, I made sure that I would never be reading and writing against the same DB space. And I also set the sizes so they were very close to what I knew would be the maximum amount of data that they would store.
I'm curious, did you try 4K pages instead of 16K pages at all?
Yeah, I did. And I was surprised that, at least on my system, and maybe it works better on yours with 4K, but despite the wasted space for a couple of the tables, I found the 16K pages actually were faster. I ran through each page size.
That's actually what I found most of the time, too. I've got to go back and try some more with 4K pages now.
Yeah, I ran through, like I said, and saw that there is quite a bit of space wasted, but I was surprised to find it was still faster. And like Tatiana, I had a massive physical log to make sure there'd be no writes out of there. I added way more logs than necessary.
And then tell folks what you're doing here. I thought this was very good.
All right, this is I dropped all the constraints. This is getting around some rules that you wrote into the contest, which said that you had to have all the tables created exactly how you had them in your create statements. But I wanted to move all of the indexes to a separate index space. And to do that, I had to drop constraints that were created without having a defined name. So I had to go into the systables and determine what the system had decided to call every index that was created. currently on the system, and then drop them and then redefine them in separate indexes, separate DB space.
Yeah, this is, for those of you who aren't aware of this, Warren is tackling a very difficult problem. When you create a constraint, like a primary key, and you don't give it a name, Informix creates a name with a blank. And it's very hard to manipulate that. And one of the rules was that constraint had to exist, and that index had to exist. This allows him to drop and recreate those as he wants. I see you also worked on the extent size.
Yeah, I reset all the extent sizes. I reset all the extent sizes so that when I refragmented the tables to reduce I/O by fragmenting by a date by the ranges that would be in the later SQL statements, that those extent sizes would take effect, and we wouldn't have nearly as many extents.
And then you ended up putting all the indexes and constraints back.
Correct.
So that, and this is what made it match the rules. You had to have these same indexes and constraints there. You could move the DB space they were in. And Warren did a very good job of putting them all back.
Now, another point is you can't change the fragmentation on a table that has a constraint on it. So.
Now, you tried compression.
Yeah, and I guess I got the syntax wrong.
Yes.
I don't have. I was working on a licensed copy of Informix that did not have that on it. So I tried to execute compression on each of the original tables, and I guess I flubbed it.
Yeah, the statement failed, but you still had the, until I ran Tatiana's code, you had the fastest time here. I was actually surprised, even with the statement failing. And this syntax is right. Actually, the only thing that's wrong is you need to, before you run this, turn on compression in the database.
Oh, okay.
There's one function you have to run before this to turn on compression for the database. Okay, well, what about in the onconfig file?
I don't think I did anything too terribly radical in the onconfig. Certainly nothing that some of it turned out was necessary until I did a couple of things. So you mentioned, for example, so when we start a VP class, I did tell it to use all the 2 to 3 processors and affinitized off of the first CPU, which presumably the OS will be hitting quite frequently. But as you said, we're I/O bound, not CPU bound on this thing.
Yeah, the two things that I noticed you did. One is you used 3 of the 4 CPUs, and you also set up the CPU memory cache, which I have found to be very helpful. I thought this was a very good setup on that.
Yeah, I tried some higher numbers, but didn't do anything more for me.
And I'm going to scroll down here. You increased locks. But
right,
by the way, for those of you who didn't notice, in the onconfig file, locks was one of the things I purposely made smaller than the default. So if you didn't change locks at all, that I had changed to make it smaller than the default.
Now, I'll point out, though, that something I did later, when you see the rest of my code, negated that. I didn't really need that many locks.
Yes. You increased shared memory virtual size. Let's take a look at your buffers. So tell us what you did here.
I set a specific value for the 2K pages because root and all the logs are still going to use those to some degree, and allocated I didn't allocate all the memory that was available, but I did run and I added memory until I saw that it was never waiting on memory during any of my runs.
Okay, and let's take a look at your code. Now, you did a lot of update stats high.
Right, I found, you can see I remmed out a lot of those update stats. I played with a lot of it. It's supposed to automatically update statistics as you create indexes. The rules said you can't update statistics in the setup. So I tried to see if I could find some update stats that were better than what the default was. And that, of all those update statistics that I tested that you can see there, is the only one that actually helped.
And then you let's see, here we get down to, you created the missing index. If you did not create this index, nope, that's not the one, I'm sorry.
Now you can see I built the table raw and remmed out the primary key there.
Yeah.
Set the extents for the amount of data that was going to wind up in it.
Yeah. And we do the insert.
And by locking the table in exclusive mode meant that I didn't have to do any page locks. It was just one table level lock.
And you simplified my SQL here.
Yeah, I looked at the actual data that was being selected and saw a few things there. The date range was irrelevant to the data that was being queried, so I just took that out. All the dates were greater than 01/01/2000. Let's see, all the product codes were equal to the product codes, so I took that join out. And then by setting the product code to less than 3, instead of being in an in range, it runs very slightly faster.
But you left 3 insert statements out here.
I did. And you know, I'm sort of slapping myself in the head for when I saw Tatiana. That was very nice.
Yeah.
That was a lot more elegant.
And then you do the update.
I simplified some of those a bit, I think.
Yeah. You've got them down to very simple updates, which, again, I purposely put in some bad, unnecessary code there. And then you did the totals. Yeah, this was, you know, to me it looked like you had really thought this through very carefully, Warren. And I was very impressed with what you did. So congratulations. Really awesome job.
Well, thanks. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for setting it up, and hopefully if you'll choose to run it again, and maybe just at the conference though, if you found it frustrating, as I'm sure you did. That was a lot of work for you to run all these things.
Yeah, you know, the biggest thing is I'll never do it where I have to run them again. I want you to run it so you can see if there's an error. The most disappointing thing was when somebody would send me something and it didn't work.
Yeah.
And, I want to make sure that if there is an error, you see it right away. And that way we can get it fixed. So let's see if Eric is on again. We'll give him one more chance here. Eric actually did something really brilliant here in terms of the SQL. And when I first saw what Warren had done and then what Eric did, I said, wow, just combine the two and you'll have something really great. So I'm going to unmute everybody, see if, okay. Eric, are you on here? Eric, gone. Okay. Well, let me go back and I will show you guys, I'm going to mute everybody again, what Eric did. And the key thing that he did was in the SQL. Well, let me just show you the setup a little bit. Eric had a very basic 3 DB spaces configuration with 16K pages, a couple of very big logs, and that was pretty much it in terms of the setup. Very, very basic setup. What he did that was brilliant was in the SQL, and this is what I want to show you. He had the bills table, created it just like everybody else did, set an extent size, and then he built a trigger on the bills table so that each time you inserted a record into the bills table, it automatically updated the customer. This saves you having to do one of those inserts, one of those updates at the end. Then he had it down to one insert statement. So it was one insert statement with, again, 2 case statements, and the 2 case statements took care of that other update. So all you had to do was insert records into the bills table. The case statements took care of the 2 updates I had, and the trigger took care of the update on the customer table. It was brilliant. So all really that had to be run was this one SQL insert statement. And then he displayed the totals, did the checkpoint, and that was the end of the script. To me, this is some of the best SQL I've seen in a long time in terms of optimizing, reducing something from 5 SQL statements down to 1. And I think that's why it went so fast. And Warren and Eric were so close, I actually ran theirs, well, I ran everybody who was within the first couple of minutes several times, but I ran theirs 3 times back to back saying, oh gosh, this is 1 second difference between the 2. And it was really a close call there. So I've got to say congratulations to Eric. He's done a phenomenal job with this. And what I'm hoping we can do is at the IIUG conference coming up in April, get Eric there in person. Both Tatiana and Eric have offered the grand prize of either an iPod Touch or a pass to the IIUG conference. They both want to go to the IIUG conference, so Advanced Data Tools is going to cover their conference fee for winning this contest. And what I'm hoping we can do is get Eric and Tatiana and Warren all there together in the same room and do a session on how you guys did this together in real live time. So that is Eric's code is Multion from Germany. I don't see him on the list of users. I'm going to unmute everybody for a minute and just see if he is on. Hello, is Multion from Germany? No, I guess not. His was also very fast, came in within about 30 seconds, if I remember right, of Eric and Warren's. And then the next one is Frank. And let me mute everybody for a minute, and then I'll unmute Frank. Frank, are you on? Whoops. You don't have a, let me unmute all, I think. Frank, are you on?
Yes, Lester, I'm here.
Okay, you're called in, right?
Yeah, calling somehow lost from my computer connection lost. I cannot hear voice from computer, but I can see slides from computer.
Okay.
But I called by my phone. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Frank, you did an awesome job on this, and you worked very hard on this. Do you want to tell us what you did?
I think
and I'd really
people did a lot of better job than I did. Most of I think when I look at the first of you already introduced, I think that's a lot of fabulous job has been done. For my stuff, I pretty sure kind of did some. For me, I think it's major three. It's indexing and memory and SQL optimization. And I didn't do the compression or page. I was very interested in the page, the page, different page size. And apparently there's some. So what I did is that log table I found the log table. Yeah, it's save a lot of time. And also, yeah, isolation to dirty read. And that's the others like CPU VP and AIL VP and different DB space, and I pretty much covered before the previous one.
So, Frank, what was the most challenging part of this for you?
The challenging part, I think the DB, the SQL, the SQL script to get it, get fully optimized. Mm-hmm. That's I don't think I haven't. I did the right now. Maybe look at the others. Maybe 60%, something like that. A lot of us, maybe that's I still found need. I can do a lot more for that. And another is that I think SQL optimization is kind of a challenge.
Well, you did an awesome job, Frank. You came in at about a minute 32, 33 seconds. So it was really close. That was very well done.
Awesome. Thank you, Lester.
You're most welcome. And then next was Jeff Felipe. Jeff, you're on. Are you on the phone? Hello, Jeff.
Yes, I'm on the phone.
Hey, Jeff. How are you doing? Congratulations.
Thanks.
So tell us about how you did it, how you approached this.
I approached it trying to combine or reduce the number of SQL statements. So I did some of the things other people did, like I created DB space for the bills table that I used as a 16K page size, also a temp DB space 16K page size. Created the bills table as a raw table. Changed the expense sizing of the bills table to match what it needed. Ran update statistics low on the customer state and product table. And again, instead of performing separate insert statements, the bill table kind of combined them, put the calculations in the actual select statement. And then I used, in my 16K page size, I had the buffer pool actually small, so when I was running the selects, I was enabling the light scans. So I had buffers set for the 16K page size at only 3,000.
Yeah. That was really good.
So
well,
those
congratulations.
Thanks.
And that was an awesome job you did. Now, Tammy, are you on?
I am on.
Hey, I thought I saw you on. How are you?
Good.
So congratulations, Tammy. You did really well on this.
Well, thank you, Lester. Thanks for hosting the contest. It was really fun.
So how about a few words on what you think were the key things you did?
Well, for me, this was my first time using IDS 11, so I really focused on the on-config, partly for that reason, also because in my environment I don't really have the luxury of changing SQL very often. So I thought my biggest bang for the buck came with the buffer pool change. And I calculated the highest number of rows per page on the bills to be at a 10K page, so that's what I used. So I really, and also I was using an instance that had a limited amount of memory, so I reduced my 2K buffer pool and went with a larger 10K. I think that was the biggest thing. Then I also changed some BERT size, and I reduced the RA threshold so that I was getting just exactly the read-ahead that I needed. And then I made a few changes that almost seemed like cheating. I turned on direct I/O and also compression.
Yeah, that's right. You did compression, and if I remember right, you're the only one that really did it, and it worked well for you. Warren tried to do it and got an error on it.
It just seemed so easy. It was like cheating.
Yeah. I've actually had pretty good results with it. I know Frank tried it and then told me he turned it off because it didn't work.
Well, that was something I threw in right at the last minute for good measure, so I don't really know if it, what the performance impact was.
Well, you did very good. I think it helped you quite a bit there. That's great. Well, congratulations, Tammy.
Thank you. Thank you.
And would you do this again?
Sure. Yeah, it was fun.
Cool. That was a question I wanted to ask everybody else earlier, if they would do this again. I know Warren was in the first contest. A lot of people in the first contest were afraid to get into this one because they said it was a lot of work thinking about it. Well, great. Congratulations. And then last but not least, we have the youngest contest winner, Rhea, from North Carolina. Are you on the line here?
Yes, Lester, I am on.
Hey, how are you? Congratulations.
I'm good. Thank you, Lester. Yeah.
Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you did to make it run so fast?
I've not really used IDS much, so it was like a first-time fun learning experience, I guess.
Yeah, I think this is a key point. You picked it right up and ran with it and did really well.
Yeah, I was surprised too.
How long have you been using IDS?
Actually, slightly more than a year, maybe.
Yeah. Not only are you one of the youngest, but the least amount of time. This was great. You dived right into it.
Yeah. But thanks for hosting the contest. That was really good.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad you participated, and tell your colleagues there. I think some of them could have done really well if they'd participated too, but you stepped forward and did participate.
Okay. Will do.
That's a great crew. I know a couple of other people where she works, and so it was really fun.
Okay.
Well, let me take one last look here to see if Eric was able to join us. Eric, are you on the line? I guess he didn't. Well, what I'd like to do then is maybe take a few minutes and open it up to the audience for questions. Anybody in the audience have questions that you'd like to ask anybody who is in the contest?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Dick Snoke from IBM. I'm
hey,
curious.
Dick, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I'm curious to know if the people in general were able to have access. Well, two things. One is how much time did they spend on doing this total, and the other is were they able to run it on a machine similar to yours, or were they stuck running it on something less?
No one could run it on a machine similar to mine unless, well, I take that back. A few people who are in classes that use this same type of machine had access to a similar type of machine. But everybody else was on different environments. Tatiana used the virtual machine, and a lot of people I've talked to use the virtual machine. Now, while you're on the line, you used a completely different machine, right?
Yeah, I had a 4-quad processor HP server with Linux on it.
Okay.
And I just chose to use 3 CPUs, affinitized to them. And then I only had one mounted file system, but it was actually a RAID 5 device, not a single disk.
Ah, okay. So how long did you actually spend working on the problem? More or less.
I ran it, a few times a day in spare time over a couple of weeks, maybe.
Oh, okay.
So, quite a few hours, really. Because I ran through a lot of iterations and actually made small tweaks and then saw whether it helped or hurt. So, I spent a fair amount of time.
Just curious.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
The last time we ran this was at the IIUG conference, so the most anybody had was 3 days to think about it. And maybe...
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping, I like the idea of actually doing the whole thing at the conference.
Yeah, I definitely, at the conference I felt like it was too much pressure for folks, but now after doing this long-term spread out like this, I think that is a better way to do it.
Well, I'll find out who your the real geeks are, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I suspect it might also be useful, too, to publish it, 2 weeks ahead of the conference, something like that, so people can come prepared, but make them actually put fingers on keyboard at the conference.
Yes. And we haven't finalized details, but we're actually looking at co-sponsoring it with another company that has basically a data driver that will create instead of doing a batch job like this, it will be more of an interactive job where their system will generate like 1,000 users, and so the idea will be how do you tune the system with a whole bunch of users on it instead of a batch job. I'm looking at making it a completely different contest next time.
Well, that'd be good, yeah. That'd be fun, I think, because there's a lot more.
It's different.
You can't perhaps tweak the SQL and so forth like this one could.
Right. It's a different type of contest.
Right.
Well, cool.
For one thing, I was a lot more sober when I did it this time.
That helps sometimes. Well, all depends on the way one's mind works, I guess.
I know, Frank, you put a lot of time in this too. I know.
Oh yeah.
How much time did you say?
I actually, almost every week, I spend some hours. I cannot say every day, but every week I spend some hours, and I almost in that time period, all my spare time, I spend on that. to play it, start, change something and see what's difference, something like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess the origin of my question, I maybe didn't state it right, was how fast did it take, how quickly did you come to the one or two things that got you the really big bang?
Oh, yeah. For example, the first, take 40 hours originally, but if you add one index, major index, it immediately drops to 1 hour or less,
Right. So how long did you actually try to run it without that index at all, or did you recognize that?
At first I didn't run without index, but later I tried rewrite. It really takes 50 hours in my machine.
Wow.
My machine is 80 CPUs, 80 gig memory, it's 50 hours. Yeah. But, I found it's a big surprise. Add one index where it immediately dropped to less than 1 hour. Yeah. Then from there I started. Yeah. A lot of fun, a lot of time. I like that in my spare time. Right now I don't have that. I kind of a little bit kind of lost, It's missing that fun time. Yeah.
I think another interesting option for the conference perhaps is a couple of years ago we tried to do God, I can't remember what we called it now. The little 5-minute talks on Qt SQL. It might be interesting to, if we can find some people with the time to construct some puzzles, sort of, right, as you did, Lester, to write some really bad SQL and then challenge people to present how they would improve it without running it. Just
well, and this is where Eric gets the prize. He took 5 really bad SQL statements and basically redid them as one. And I had figured out, in my mind, if I was ever doing it, I would do it as 2 statements. But that trigger was brilliant on his part.
Yeah, and that's where I think we could have some fun with options for optimizing, right?
Yeah. And this is part of the fun I have with this contest, is seeing what people come up with that I didn't even think of.
I play chess, and I'm thinking we have some puzzles, and we can award a brilliancy prize.
Yeah. Well, anybody else on the phone? Questions, comments? Well, we're about out of time here. I will say we are going to do it again at the IIEG conference if everything works out. I've submitted that proposal at least, and we're going to sponsor the IIEG conference. Hopefully what I'd like to do there is something more along the lines of where we have a tool that will simulate a bunch of users, and so you'll be limited to just the onconfig file, making changes there. We'll keep it a little bit simple, a little bit more focused, but then you could spend some time monitoring this system and then make a few changes and see if you can get more users on your system there. Something like that. Anyway, that's still to come. I really appreciate everybody who participated. And hang on. Get everybody on mute there. And really, again, I have to apologize to Tatiana that I missed her script the first time she sent it in. That was completely my fault and my mistake. And I appreciate Warren and Eric understanding after I'd announced them as the winners and then said, whoops, I made a mistake here. But everybody who participated did a really, really good job. I'm really excited to see what happened. And anybody who has any comments or questions, please feel free to drop me an email. Spokey is not on the line, but he had asked if the code would be available after the contest. And what I'm going to do is tonight put the code back up so that anybody who didn't participate in the contest but would like to try it after the fact, you can go register and download it. We won't run it unless you come up with something really interesting and can convince me to do it. I have to keep a machine sitting around to run this, which is one of the problems. It takes a machine out of my classroom. But we'll let folks download the code and try it out and play with it. And then if you come up with something really creative, I'd love to know about it, and you might talk me into running it. But we're not going to do it as a contest. It's more of, if you want to try it out again, here it is. You can go try it out. Please enjoy. And then we will definitely do something, I'm already calling it the Fastest Informix DBA Contest number 3 at the IIEG conference. And look forward to seeing you guys all there, and look forward to having you participate in it again. And with that, I'll sign up here and say thanks again and congratulations to all the winners. And I really appreciate your feedback on this. Thank you, and have a good day.